Good evening and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. Grace Kennedy says global inflation has hampered its remittance business. While speaking at the company's investor briefing on Monday, CEO of Grace Kennedy Group, Don Webby, says many persons overseas seem to have less money to send back home because of the tight economic climate.
In the USA, where you see that the inflation rate is 8.2%, in the UK, especially 10.1%, and in Canada at 6.9%. Basically, what we're saying is that the disposable income of our Caribbean diaspora in those countries has been affected significantly by global inflation. What does that mean? It means that the ability of our brothers and sisters in those countries to send money back home to their loved ones has been negatively impacted.
Grace Kennedy holds the license to operate Western Union in Jamaica. He says the company will be ramping up marketing efforts and reviewing its mechanisms in a bid to encourage persons to send money back home. Meanwhile, Mr. Webby says an inconsistent supply of goods and raw material also affected business for the 9 months up to September. Mr. Webby says the U.S. market was most affected.
But the first quarter of 2022, our normal receival of containers in the USA market would be maybe 70-something containers. We received 150 containers over that same period. In other words, because of the congestion on the wharf and the inconsistent supply of our products, basically it was a hell of a task in terms of clearing those containers, storing them, and trying to clear the demurrage. And we had a cost of over $2 million US.
Let's look at the latest import-export news now. Jamaica spent more on imports for the January to July period this year. According to the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, total spending on imports was valued at $4.4 billion US. That's a 33.6% increase compared to the same period last year. Now, Statin says the increase was largely driven by higher imports of fuels and lubricant, raw material, intermediate goods, and consumer goods. The value of goods coming in for those segments went up by 55.4%, 29.8%, and 31% respectively. Meanwhile, Statin says Jamaica earned more from exports for the 7 months. $939.7 million US were earned from locally produced goods sold outside of Jamaica. That's a 2.3% improvement compared to last year when Jamaica earned $918.3 million US. Statin says the upward movement was driven by a 61.8% increase in the value of exports of mineral fuels. Let's head to the currency market now. The US dollar is being sold for an average $154.79. $115.98 is the going rate for the Canadian dollar. $180.97 for the pound, while it's costing an average $160.11 for the euro. Meanwhile, the JSE index gained 574 points today, while the junior market index lost 11 points. Leading the advances were Consolidated Bakers Jamaica, Trans-Jamaican Highway 8% shares, Main Event Entertainment Group, Express Catering, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company, while the decliners included Knutsford Express Services, Proven Group US dollar shares, Sterling Investments, MPC Caribbean Clean Energy, and Stationery and Office Supplies Limited. And that's the Business Day. I'm Javon Keys. Good evening.